The great hall of Thaloris was filled with silence. Hundreds of alien nobles stood in a circle, their silver eyes glowing in the dim light. At the center, a human soldier named Captain Reed stood alone, surrounded by tall alien guards with shining armor and cold faces. Reed had fought beside these aliens during the war against the Zarkon invaders. He had saved their royal fleet when no one else dared. His ship, damaged and smoking, had stayed behind to protect the retreating Thalorian forces. He had lost half his crew that day. Now, after months of battle, he stood before their king, expecting gratitude, maybe even peace between their species. The alien king rose from his throne. His face was proud, his crown made of living crystal that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Human," the king said in a voice that echoed through the hall. "You have served the throne of Thaloris well. You risked your life for my fleet. Our laws demand that such courage be rewarded." Reed bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I did what any soldier would do. I seek no reward." The king's eyes narrowed and a strange smile crossed his face. "Then you are different from most of your kind." He raised a hand. "Bring forth the gift," the crowd murmured. 2 guards entered. Between them walked a woman. Her steps were slow, her head bowed. She was not human. Her skin shimmered faintly blue under the lights, and her silver hair flowed like liquid metal. Her wrists were bound with golden cuffs. She wore a simple white robe, torn at the edges. The king gestured toward her. "This is Princess Arlena, my daughter." Reed frowned. "Your daughter?" "Yes," the king said coldly. "She is yours now. A gift and for your service." A heavy silence filled the air. Reed's stomach twisted. He looked around, the nobles whispered and laughed softly behind their hands. The princess did not raise her head. Her shoulders trembled. "I don't understand," Reed said carefully. "You're giving me your daughter?" "Why?" The king's tone turned sharp. "Because she is useless to me. She is infertile. She cannot give an heir. She has no value to this throne. But to a human, perhaps she can be a comfort." The hall filled with cruel laughter. Reed clenched his fists. Every instinct in him screamed that this was wrong. He had seen cruelty in war, but this was humiliation disguised as honor. "I will not accept her," he said. "She is not a prize to be given." The king's expression hardened. "You dare refuse the will of Thaloris?" "I dare refuse injustice," Reed said quietly. For a long moment no one spoke. The tension in the air was like a storm waiting to break. The king leaned forward. "Then you insult our customs, human. And if you refuse this gift, you refuse our peace." Reed looked at the princess. Her eyes, finally lifting, met his. They were filled with quiet pain and in something else, a plea. She didn't speak, but in that one look, Reed saw it all. Fear, shame, and hope that maybe, just maybe, he would not let her go back to the cage she came from. He took a slow breath. "Then I accept your gift," he said softly. The king smiled in triumph. "Good. Take her and leave our world by sunrise. You have 3 hours." The guards released the princess's chains and pushed her toward Reed. She stumbled but didn't fall. Reed caught her gently. Her hands were cold, too cold. He looked at her face and saw faint marks on her skin like old burns or scars. "Are you hurt?" he asked quietly. She shook her head without speaking. As they left the hall, the aliens whispered again. Some mocked, others pitied. The king watched them go, his eyes filled with hidden fire. "Let the human take the curse far away," he muttered. Outside, the night air of Thaloris was heavy and violet-colored. Reed guided the princess toward his small transport ship. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly. "You're safe now." She looked up at him for the first time. Her voice was barely a whisper. "No one is ever safe from the king." Reed frowned. "What do you mean?" She turned away, her silver hair glinting in the starlight. "You don't understand. By taking me, you've angered him. You were never supposed to live past today." Reed stopped walking. The word struck him like lightning. "He planned to kill me?" The princess nodded slowly. "He doesn't give gifts, human, he gives traps." Thunder rolled across the alien sky. In the distance, palace lights flickered. Reed looked up, his soldier's instincts screamed danger. He turned to Arlena. "Then we need to leave, now." As the ship's engines roared to life, the princess whispered again. "You should have refused me." Reed glanced at her. "No," he said firmly. "No one deserves to be treated like that." The ship lifted off, rising into the dark clouds. Behind them, the king stood at his palace window, watching the flames from the launch light the sky. His eyes glowed with hatred. "Run, human," he whispered. "Run as far as you can. You have taken my shame, and soon you will pay for it." The storm broke open, lightning cracking across the alien horizon. The hunt had already begun. The ship tore through the clouds of Thaloris, shaking as lightning danced around its hull. Captain Reed's hands gripped the control panel while Princess Arlena sat silently beside him, her eyes fixed on the dark sky. The engines roared, but beneath the sound Reed could feel his heartbeat echoing, heavy and uncertain. They had escaped the palace, but not the king's wrath. Reed knew that much. No king gives away his own daughter and lets her leave freely, especially not one who looked at him with that kind of hatred. Outside, the purple clouds thinned, revealing the endless black of space. Reed pulled a lever, activating the ship's stealth drive. "We'll be invisible to their scanners for a few hours," he said, trying to sound calm. "After that, we find a safe place to hide." Arlena didn't answer. Her hands rested on her lap, fingers trembling. The golden cuff still marked her wrists. Reed noticed and spoke softly. "You don't have to wear those anymore." He reached into his pack and pulled out a small tool, slicing the cuffs open. The metal fell to the floor with a faint clink. She stared at her freed wrists as if she couldn't believe it. "No one has ever removed them," she whispered. "Then maybe no one ever tried," Reed said, offering a small smile. For a brief moment her eyes softened. But then she looked away again, her voice low. "You shouldn't have taken me." Reed glanced at her. "You said that before, why?" "Because my father doesn't forgive," she said. "You think you saved me, but you only made yourself his next target." Reed leaned back in the pilot's seat, sighing. "I've been hunted before. I'll survive this too," but in truth he wasn't sure. The Thalorian Empire had the most advanced tracking fleets in this part of the galaxy. He could hide for a while, maybe a few days. After that, they would come. Hours passed in silence. The ship drifted through a quiet sector filled with broken moons and ancient debris, the ruins of old wars. Reed set the autopilot and turned to check the back of the ship. The small medical bay flickered weakly with emergency lights. Arlena followed him. "You should rest," he said. "There's a bed there. Food too, not royal meals, but it'll keep you alive." "I don't sleep well," she murmured. Reed raised an eyebrow. "Nightmares?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the faces of the ones my father punished. Sometimes I see my mother." Reed paused. "What happened to her?" "She died because she loved too much," Arlena said quietly. "Love is weakness in Thaloris. My father believes affection destroys empires. When he found out she helped refugees during the war, he called her a traitor." Reed felt a chill crawl down his spine. "And he punished you for her kindness," she nodded once. "He said her blood carried weakness, and that's why I was called infertile. But it's not a sickness. It's punishment written into my name. Every doctor who tried to prove otherwise was executed." Reed stared at her, his jaw tightening. "So he made everyone believe you couldn't give birth. To protect his pride," Arlena's lips trembled. "To erase my mother's memory." For a while, the only sound was the quiet hum of the engines. Reed walked to a storage cabinet and pulled out a blanket, placing it gently over her shoulders. "Then we'll make sure he never erases you." She looked at him, eyes wide, not used to being spoken to like that. "You don't know what you're saying," she whispered. "He's the king of 1,000 worlds." "Then he'll learn what it means to fight a human who doesn't kneel," Reed replied, his tone steady. A faint smile touched her lips, the first real one since they'd met. "You're either brave or foolish." "Maybe both," Reed said, turning back to the controls. But before he could speak again, the ship's radar beeped. A red dot appeared on the screen, fast, closing in from behind. Reed cursed under his breath. "They found us." Arlena's face went pale. "Already?" "Thalorian interceptors," Reed muttered. "They must have tagged the ship before we launched." He flipped a series of switches. The ship lurched sideways as energy blasts streaked past the hull. "Hold on!" he shouted. Arlena grabbed the edge of the console, her body shaking as the ship spun through the debris field. Reed dodged asteroids, pushing the engines to their limit. One blast hit the rear, throwing sparks across the cabin. "We can't outrun them," she cried. "Watch me," Reed growled. He dove toward a massive, shattered moon. The enemy ships followed. Reed cut the power suddenly. The ship went dark. The pursuers overshot, unable to lock their weapons. At the last second, Reed reignited the engines and shot upward, sending his ship into the shadow of the broken moon. The radar went blank. Silence. For several long seconds, neither spoke. Then Arlena turned to him. "How did you know they wouldn't see us?" "I didn't," Reed said with a faint grin. "Just hoped they were worse pilots." She stared at him, then laughed. A quiet, fragile sound that filled the small ship with warmth. For the first time, Reed saw something beyond fear in her eyes. Life. They drifted in the dark for hours, hidden among the moon's remains. Reed checked the systems. "We'll need to land somewhere soon. Fuel's low. There's a world nearby," Arlena said softly. "Uninhabited. I used to go there with my mother. Before she was gone." Reed looked at her. "You remember the coordinates?" She nodded slowly. "I never forgot." He entered them into the system. The engines hummed to life again, and the ship turned toward a distant blue planet surrounded by golden clouds. As they descended, Arlena whispered, "He'll never stop hunting us." Reed replied quietly, "Then let's make sure he regrets it." The ship disappeared into the misty atmosphere, carrying with it 2 exiles, one human and one alien, both marked by shame, and bound by something far stronger than either of them yet understood. The planet below shimmered like a blue pearl wrapped in gold mist. Captain Reed guided the damaged ship through the clouds, his eyes scanning for a safe landing spot. The control panels flickered weakly, fuel levels critical, oxygen filters half-functional. Every alarm screamed that they wouldn't survive another flight. "Hold on," Reed muttered, gripping the steering controls. Princess Arlena sat beside him, her face pale but calm. She watched the swirling clouds outside, whispering softly, "My mother called this world Seren Vale, the sleeping garden." Moments later, the ship broke through the clouds, revealing a breathtaking valley below. Wide rivers of silver water, glowing trees, and tall crystal towers half buried in vines. It looked like an abandoned paradise, untouched by war or greed. Reed managed to land the ship near the edge of a lake. The landing was rough. Metal screeched, smoke hissed, but they were alive. Reed exhaled and shut down the engines. "We made it," he said, trying to sound hopeful. Arlena nodded, but her breathing was shallow. The strain of the journey had drained her. Her hands trembled as she unbuckled the seat straps. I feel dizzy." Reed turned quickly. "You're burning up," he said, touching her forehead. Her skin was hot, almost glowing faintly with blue light. "You're reacting to something. Maybe the atmosphere?" "No," she whispered weakly. "It's my blood. My father made sure no one who carries his shame survives long away from Thaloris." Reed's eyes darkened. "He poisoned you?" "Something worse," she murmured, her eyes fluttering. "He changed me." Then she collapsed. Reed caught her before she hit the floor. Panic rushed through him. Her pulse was fading, and strange glowing veins appeared across her arms and neck. He carried her to the medical bay and placed her on the examination bed. "Come on, Arlena, stay with me." He scanned her with his med device. The readings made no sense. Her cells were breaking apart, self-destructing, as if a hidden signal inside her body had been triggered. Some kind of genetic kill switch. Reed clenched his jaw. "I'm not losing you," he said. He grabbed the emergency nanogel, a human medical fluid that could repair cells in near-death states. It wasn't designed for alien biology, but he had no choice. He injected the fluid carefully into her veins. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the room filled with a low hum. The blue glow in her skin began to shift, slowly mixing with a golden light. Reed stepped back in shock as the glow spread, stabilizing her pulse. The medical monitor beeped steadily again. Her breathing calmed. Her skin cooled. The hum faded. Reed stared at the readings. Her cellular structure was changing. Her DNA had merged with the nanogel, adapting, rewriting itself. The mutation that made her infertile was gone. "What in the world?" he whispered. He sat beside her for hours, watching as she slept. The storm outside had passed, and soft golden rain began to fall, lighting up the surface of the lake. Reed leaned against the wall, exhausted but relieved. When Arlena finally opened her eyes, the glow was gone, but her gaze was clearer than before, brighter. "Where am I?" she asked softly. "Safe," Reed said with a faint smile. "For now." She sat up slowly, noticing the faint shimmer on her skin. "I should be dead," she whispered. "I felt it. My blood burning away." "You're not," Reed replied. "I used a human nanogel. It shouldn't have worked on your biology, but somehow it did." She looked at him in confusion. You healed me with your medicine? Reed nodded. Maybe it's more than that. Your body reacted like it was meant to. Arlena touched her chest where the glow had been. Then maybe the curse wasn't in me. It was forced upon me. Reed leaned forward. What do you mean? My father didn't want me to bear children, she said quietly. He feared my mother's bloodline would rise again, so he ordered scientists to alter me, to make sure I could never continue her legacy. But your medicine, it undid it. Reed felt a chill. So now, yes, she whispered. If the process truly reversed what they did, then I'm no longer barren. For a moment, neither spoke. The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Arlena looked down, tears forming in her silver eyes. Do you know what this means? If he ever finds out, he'll destroy entire worlds to erase me again. Reed stood, looking out the viewport at the glowing valley. Then we make sure he never does. She watched him silently. Why are you helping me? She asked softly. You could leave me here and escape. You owe me nothing. Reed turned back, his face calm but firm. Because I saw what he did to you. Because no one deserves to be punished for being born. And because you deserve a life that's your own. Arlena's lips parted slightly as if she wanted to say something, but the words didn't come. Instead, she looked out at the lake, her reflection shimmering on the glass. You sound like my mother, she whispered. She believed love could fix even the cruelest hearts. Reed gave a small, tired smile. Maybe she was right. The night passed quietly. They built a small camp outside the ship. Strange glowing flowers surrounded the lake, giving off soft warmth. Reed gathered food from nearby plants using his scanner. Arlena sat by the fire, her hands tracing the air, drawing patterns that shimmered like light. What is that? Reed asked. Old Thalorian writing, she said. A language my mother taught me. It's forbidden now. What does it mean? She smiled faintly. It means rebirth. Reed nodded, staring at the word glowing between them. Seems fitting. But deep inside, both knew this peace wouldn't last. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Thalorian king sat upon his throne, staring at the hologram of his daughter, the signal captured from Reed's ship before it vanished. He saw the faint golden light in her veins and his expression twisted into fury. So, the human healed her, he hissed. He broke the curse. He slammed his fist into the armrest. Find them. Bring her back. And kill him. Days turned into weeks on the silent world of Serenvale. The valley that once seemed empty was now alive with color. Crystal plants bloomed under two suns, and the air carried a faint music, the hum of old energy still hidden beneath the soil. Captain Reed had turned the broken ship into a shelter, using scrap metal to build a small camp beside the shining lake. Princess Arlena helped him quietly, learning as she went. Once a royal trapped behind palace walls, she now learned how to cook, repair panels, and even laugh without fear. Reed noticed how quickly she adapted, how she listened, how she smiled at the smallest things like the sound of rain on metal or the warmth of a fire. At night, they would sit together by the lake. The stars above looked different here, larger, brighter, closer somehow. Arlena often traced constellations in the air with her fingers, the glowing lines forming strange alien shapes. One of those, she said one night, pointing to a golden cluster, is the Star of Mira. My mother told me it's a promise star. When two beings make a vow under it, their bond cannot be broken, even by death. Reed smiled faintly. Sounds like something humans would believe too. She looked at him curiously. Humans make vows like that? Sometimes, he said. Usually before everything goes wrong. She laughed, a sound soft like wind over glass. Then maybe we shouldn't make any, Reed chuckled. Agreed. For a while they sat in silence, both staring at the reflection of stars on the lake. There was peace in that quiet, but also something unspoken, something growing between them that neither dared to name. The next morning Reed woke to find Arlena already outside, kneeling near the water. Her hands glowed faintly as she touched the surface, sending ripples of light across it. What are you doing? He asked. Listening, she said. This planet is alive. My mother used to say Serenvale remembers those who are kind to it. The energy here, it speaks through water and wind. Reed crouched beside her, looking at the glowing ripples. And what's it saying? She turned to him slowly. That we are not alone anymore. Before he could ask what she meant, the ship's old scanner beeped weakly. Reed rushed inside. A single signal blinked on the display. Distant but approaching. "Someone's entering orbit," he said. Arlena's face went pale. "It's him. My father's hunters." Reed checked the radar again. "Not yet. Maybe a scout ship, maybe pirates. Either way, we'll be ready." He began reinforcing the camp's defenses, setting up energy barriers and motion sensors. Arlena followed, helping him without complaint. For the first time, she looked like someone preparing to fight, not hide. As the day turned to dusk, Reed noticed her hand shaking slightly as she worked. "You don't have to do this," he said gently. "I can handle it," she shook her head. "No, I've been running my whole life. If they come, I will face them. With you." Reed studied her, the determination in her eyes, the courage that had replaced her fear. "You've changed," he said softly. She looked up. "No," she whispered. "You just helped me remember who I was before the cage." He didn't reply. But something in his chest tightened. Pride, admiration, maybe more. That night, a cold wind swept through the valley. The stars hid behind silver clouds. Reed and Arlena sat by the fire inside the shelter, both silent for a long time. "Do you ever miss your world?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "Sometimes. The songs, the gardens, the light of the twin moons. But not the people. Not the rules. And your father?" Her expression darkened. "He was not always a monster. Once he was kind. But power, it changes beings. It eats their hearts until there's nothing left but fear." Reed nodded slowly. "I've seen that too. In humans. Maybe we're not so different," she said quietly. Reed looked at her then, really looked. The silver light from the fire touched her face, turning her eyes almost human in their warmth. "No," he said, "we're not." Their gazes lingered a second too long. Then, as if realizing it, Arlena looked away, her cheeks faintly glowing. Reed cleared his throat. "We should get some rest. Tomorrow we find higher ground and maybe some natural shelter." She nodded but smiled slightly. "Yes, Captain." The next morning they hiked toward the cliffs east of the lake. The landscape glowed with soft mist and the air carried the scent of crystal flowers. As they climbed, Arlena stumbled on a sharp stone. Reed caught her hand instinctively. For a brief moment their palms touched, and warm against cold. Neither moved. Something pulsed between them, the same golden energy that had healed her once. Reed felt it like static running through his skin. Arlena's eyes widened. "What is that?" she whispered. Reed shook his head slowly. "I don't know. Maybe a side effect from the nanogel?" But inside, he wasn't so sure. It didn't feel like science, it felt alive, connected. They reached the top of the cliff just as the second sun began to rise. The valley spread below them, a sea of light and color. Arlena stood at the edge, her hair blowing in the warm wind. "When I was a child," she said softly, "I used to dream of standing somewhere free, where the air didn't belong to anyone. I never thought I'd actually find it." Reed looked at her. "You earned it." She turned, smiling faintly. "We earned it." At that moment, a small drone shot across the sky above them. Fast, metallic, silent. Reed's instincts kicked in. He grabbed his blaster and fired, hitting it mid-air. The drone exploded in a flash of light. "They've found us," he said grimly. Arlena's face hardened, no longer afraid. "Then we fight," Reed nodded. Together. The wind rose around them, carrying the faint hum of approaching engines. The king's hunters were coming, and this time the bond between human and alien would be tested in fire. The night sky of Saren Vale burned with streaks of light. Dozens of alien ships entered the upper atmosphere, glowing like falling stars. The ground trembled softly beneath Captain Reed's boots as he stood outside the shelter, scanning the horizon with his binoculars. He could see them, small specks moving in formation. Thalorian royal fighters, the king's personal fleet. "They found us," he muttered. Inside the shelter, Princess Arlena felt a cold shiver crawl through her spine. The hum of their ship's old communicator suddenly came alive, static and whispers forming into a clear, deep voice. It was him. "My beloved daughter, and the human who thinks himself her savior," the king's voice echoed, calm yet filled with venom. "You thought you could hide from me? You forget who owns the stars you walk under." Reed stormed inside, his jaw tight. He turned off the external broadcast but left the receiver on. "He's tracking our signal," he said. We can't reply. He'll use the frequency to lock our location. Arlena's hands trembled. He already knows where we are, Reed. He always knows, the voice continued. Captain Reed, I will offer you mercy, though you do not deserve it. Return my daughter to me unharmed, and I will allow you to die quickly. Refuse, and I will burn this world to dust. Reed's expression darkened. Mercy? He has no mercy. He shut down the communicator completely. The valley went silent again, except for the faint rumble of engines above. For a long moment, neither spoke. Arlena stared at the floor, her voice low. He will come himself. He doesn't trust others to finish his hatred. Reed turned to her. Then we'll make this place ready. We've fought worse odds before. She looked up, her eyes wide with fear. You don't understand. He won't just kill you. He'll destroy everything that touched you. Every planet, every human who helped. Reed's eyes softened. Then we make sure he fails before he ever reaches them. They worked through the night. Reed armed what was left of his ship's defense grid, setting explosive charges around the cliffs. Arlena helped power up the energy shields, her hands glowing faintly as she transferred her own bioenergy into the systems. You shouldn't do that, Reed said. You'll weaken yourself, she smiled faintly. You forget, Captain. I was born with power in my blood, power my father feared. Reed stopped and looked at her. He said you were infertile, but I don't think he feared weakness. He feared what your blood could become. Arlena hesitated, her eyes distant. You may be right. My mother's family was different. Her people could change things, heal or destroy through will alone. My father tried to erase it from me, but when you healed me with your nanogel, it came back. Reed frowned. You mean the healing wasn't just biological, it awakened something? She nodded slowly. Something old. Something connected to life itself. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky. The enemy ships began forming in attack lines above the valley. The soft hum of their engines filled the air like the breath of a coming storm. Reed walked to the viewport, watching. If they come down here, we don't have the firepower to fight them all. Arlena stood beside him. Then maybe it's time to use something greater than weapons. He looked at her, confused. What are you planning? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer to the window and placed her palm against the glass. The veins under her skin glowed golden, spreading up her arm like threads of light. The ground outside began to shimmer and the lake's surface rippled as if responding to her heartbeat. Arlena, stop, Reed said, alarmed. But she didn't. Her voice grew distant, melodic. Siren Vale listens. It remembers kindness. The valley itself began to change and the flowers turned toward the sky, glowing brighter. The air thickened with soft light. It felt alive. Reed watched in awe. What are you doing? Calling for help, she whispered. This planet was created by my mother's people long ago. It was a sanctuary, and it still remembers their energy. A deep tremor shook the ground as columns of crystal rose from the earth, forming barriers of light around the camp. The alien fleet fired from above, blue plasma bolts raining down, but each one shattered harmlessly against the glowing walls. Reed stared in disbelief. You just turned the planet into a shield. She swayed, nearly falling. Reed caught her. Her skin was pale, her strength fading fast. That should buy us time, she said weakly. You're burning yourself out, Reed said, lowering her gently to the floor. You need to rest. Before she could reply, the communicator flickered back to life, and without Reed touching it, the king's face appeared as a hologram, his crown blazing. Impressive, daughter, he said, his voice like thunder. You awaken the cursed power of your mother's blood to protect a human. Arlena forced herself up, her eyes meeting his. You call it a curse because you fear it, father. Because love is stronger than your throne. The king's expression twisted into fury. You dare speak of love? That human poisoned you? Reed stepped forward. No, your majesty. I saved her, from you. The king's laughter echoed through the valley. You think your human defiance matters. She is still my blood. When she dies, her power returns to me, and she will die. The hologram vanished. Silence. Only the crackling of the fire and the faint hum of the shield remained. Arlena looked at Reed, her voice trembling. He's right. If I die, he can take my power. Reed met her gaze firmly. Then you won't die. Not while I'm here. She reached out, touching his hand. The golden glow returned for a moment, wrapping both their fingers in light. You don't understand, she whispered. This power reacts to emotions and to bonds. The stronger the connection, the stronger it becomes. Reed's heart pounded. You mean our bond? Yes, she said softly. It's changing me. And him. Reed leaned closer. Then let's make that bond unbreakable. For a moment, the air itself seemed to still. The glow between them pulsed brighter, resonating through the ground. The planet responded like a living heart, beating in rhythm with theirs. Outside, the Thalorian fleet prepared for descent. The king's wrath was coming, but within the valley something older and stronger than his empire had already awakened. The morning light over Seren Vale broke through the clouds like fire spilling from heaven. The golden shield that Arlena had summoned still glowed around the valley, humming faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The land was alive, responding to her will. Yet she lay weak beside the dying fire, her breath shallow, her eyes half closed. Captain Reed knelt beside her, his hands trembling as he checked her pulse. Stay with me, princess, he whispered. You did it. You stopped them. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Stopped them for now, she said softly. But he's coming, Reed. My father never waits behind walls when his pride is wounded. Reed turned toward the horizon. Through the thin mist he saw them, massive shadows blotting out the rising suns. The Thalorian royal flagship hovered above the valley, flanked by dozens of smaller warships. The sky itself darkened under their engines. He stood, jaw tightening. Then we end this here. Arlena opened her eyes, glowing faintly gold. You can't fight an empire alone. Reed looked down at her. Maybe not alone. He walked to the command console inside the shelter, connecting the communicator to the human military beacon embedded in his ship. This is Captain Nathan Reed of the 7th Terran Fleet, he said into the static. If anyone can hear me, I'm on Seren Vale. The Thalorian king is about to start a war. The signal crackled, faint, no response. The message was swallowed by static. Reed hit the console with his fist. Come on. Behind him, Arlena's weak voice called out. Even if they come, the king will kill me before he surrenders. You can still escape. There's time. Reed turned sharply. No, I'm not leaving you. You're not just some princess anymore. You're the proof that his empire can change. Her gaze softened. You speak as if I am more than I am. You are, he said firmly. Your hope. Thunder cracked overhead. A deep mechanical roar filled the sky as the king's flagship descended. The wind whipped through the valley, tearing leaves and dust into spirals. From the ship's belly, a single beam of blue light struck the ground, and in it the king of Thaloris appeared. He wore armor of living crystal, pulsing with dark energy. His crown glowed like a burning star. Reed stepped forward, blaster drawn. End this now. Take your fleet and leave. The king's cold eyes studied him, a human soldier standing against a god-born ruler. You are brave, or ignorant. I'm human, Reed said calmly. That means I'm both. The king smiled cruelly. And you, daughter, he said, turning toward Arlena. How far you've fallen, lying beside a beast from the mud worlds. Arlena forced herself to stand, her hands glowing faintly again. You call him a beast, father, but he's the only one who treated me as something more than property. The king's expression hardened. You think love will make you powerful? You think defiance can erase my will? He raised his hand. Blue lightning burst from his armor, striking the ground near her feet. The valley shook violently. Reed stepped in front of her, shielding her from the blast. The king laughed darkly. So the human protects his prize. Reed aimed his blaster. She's not a prize. She's free. Another bolt of energy shot toward them, but this time Arlena lifted her hands. The golden light around her surged outward, forming a radiant barrier that absorbed the blast. The air vibrated as gold clashed with blue, their energies colliding with thunderous force. The king staggered back, eyes wide. Impossible. Arlena's voice rose, strong and clear. You called me infertile because you feared my mother's gift. But that gift lives, and it's growing stronger. Golden veins shimmered across her skin, spreading to her arms and neck. Reed reached for her. You're burning up again. She looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes. No, I'm becoming. Reed felt the air around them change, heavy, alive, glowing. The golden light reached for him, wrapping around his body. For a brief moment he saw flashes in his mind. Stars being born, planets forming, life blooming in alien soil. Their hearts were synchronized. Their energies merged. The king screamed.
"Stop! You don't know what you're doing!"
But it was too late. Arlena and Reed stood together in the storm of light. Her power fused with his human biology, creating something neither species had seen before. The golden glow turned white, blinding, spreading across the valley like dawn. When the light faded, the ground was silent. The king's soldiers lowered their weapons, staring in awe. Arlena stood tall beside Reed, her hair flowing with shimmering light. The mark of her lineage, once a symbol of shame, now glowed like a crown of fire. The king stumbled back, eyes filled with disbelief. "What are you?" She stepped forward slowly. "The child you tried to erase," she said. "The bridge between two worlds." Reed took her hand. The energy between them pulsed again, and then something incredible happened. The surrounding plants began to bloom in seconds, crystal trees rising toward the sky. The valley itself awakened. Every ship above them trembled as their systems failed. The king's soldiers shouted in confusion as engines shut down. Reed realized it first. "You're controlling the energy field through the planet." Arlena nodded faintly. "It's not me alone, it's us. The bond you gave me, and it's alive. It listens." The king roared in rage, raising his weapon again, but his armor cracked, shards of crystal falling away. His power was being drained by the same force he had feared. Arlena's voice echoed, calm but strong. "Your rule ends here, Father. The throne will no longer be built on fear." The king fell to his knees as his ship exploded in the sky above. His crown shattered, its glow fading into dust. Silence followed. The soldiers hesitated, staring between their fallen ruler and the glowing pair standing against him. Then one by one they knelt. Reed looked at Arlena, his voice quiet. "It's over." She shook her head gently. "No, Nathan. It's just beginning." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She placed his hand on her heart. Beneath the glow, he felt another heartbeat, smaller, lighter, pulsing in rhythm with hers. His eyes widened. "Arlena." She smiled through tears. "The curse is gone. Life has returned." Reed was speechless. The infertile princess who was given away as a shameful gift now carried the first child of two species, the heir of two worlds. Above them, the twin suns broke through the clouds again, bathing the valley in golden light. The war was over, but a new story had just begun, one that would echo through the stars for centuries to come. Smoke drifted through the broken skies of Siren Vale. The once mighty Thalorian flagship lay in ruin across the cliffs. Its metallic hull cracked open like a wounded beast. The golden light that had shielded the valley still shimmered faintly, fading into soft ripples across the horizon. Captain Nathan Reed stood amid the silence, holding Princess Arlena close. Her breathing was slow but steady, her glow dimmed to a gentle warmth. The wind carried the scent of burnt metal and crystal dust, a reminder of what had just ended, and what was about to begin. High above them, the remains of the king's throne ship still floated in fragments. But from the wreckage, a single figure moved. The king of Thaloris was not dead. His armor, shattered and bleeding light, still pulsed with dark energy. His eyes burned with rage deeper than any wound. Reed saw him first. "He's alive," he whispered. Arlena stirred weakly in his arms. "He won't stop. Not until I'm gone." Reed helped her stand, though she swayed on her feet. "Then we finish this together." The king descended slowly, carried by flickering thrusters. His voice thundered across the valley. "You think this is over, daughter? You think I would die by a human's hand?" His power crackled like stormfire, raw and unstable. The air around him trembled. The nearby trees wilted from the energy radiating off his body. Reed raised his weapon, aiming for the chest. "Don't make me end it," the king laughed bitterly. "End it? You began something your kind can never control. That child growing inside her, it is an abomination, a fusion of filth and divinity." Arlena stepped forward, her voice trembling yet strong. "It's not an abomination. It's life, something you forgot how to honor." The king's eyes narrowed. "Life built from weakness cannot survive," Reed fired. The plasma bolt hit the king squarely in the shoulder, tearing through armor. The monarch staggered but didn't fall. His body absorbed the blast, converting the energy into raw fury. "You dare defy the blood that rules worlds?" he roared. The ground split open beneath him. Lightning burst from the cracks, twisting into violent arcs. Reed was thrown backward, crashing against a fallen beam. Pain shot through his ribs. Arlena screamed his name, rushing to him. But before she could reach him, the king appeared in front of her, grabbing her throat with one hand. You think your power can rival mine? He hissed. You are my creation and my mistake. Her eyes glowed bright gold. Then it's time the mistake corrected itself. The air exploded between them. A burst of light so intense that even the sky seemed to flinch. The king staggered back, releasing her. The valley shook violently. Golden energy swirled around Arlena like a living storm. Reed crawled to his feet, shielding his eyes. Arlena! Stop! You'll kill yourself! She turned to him, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. There's no other way. His power feeds on my life, and if I don't cut the link, he'll never die. Reed's heart sank. No, there's another way. There has to be. But she smiled. That same small, peaceful smile she had shown the night she first laughed by the fire. You once told me humans fight for what they love. Let me show you what that means, as one of you. Before he could move, she raised her arms to the sky. The light around her blazed brighter than ever before. The ground beneath the king cracked open, swallowing the wreckage of his ship. Golden tendrils wrapped around his body like chains of living flame. He screamed, a sound that shook the clouds. Daughter, he shouted. You cannot kill me. I am forever. Arlena's voice echoed across the valley, filled with both sorrow and strength. Then let eternity remember who ended you. The light erupted. For a moment, the entire planet glowed like a star. The blast reached the heavens, cutting through the dark fleet still orbiting above. One by one, the king's ships went silent, powerless. Then the light vanished. Silence. Only the whisper of the wind remained. Reed opened his eyes slowly. The sky was clear again, soft blue. The king was gone, nothing left but ashes and a broken crown, and Arlena. She lay in the center of the valley, surrounded by petals of glowing crystal. Her body no longer shone, but peace rested upon her face. Reed stumbled toward her, his heart breaking. Arlena, he whispered, falling to his knees beside her. No. Please. Her eyes fluttered open one last time. She looked up at him, weak but smiling. You were right, she said softly. Humans are strange. They give everything, even when they know they'll lose. Reed held her hand tightly. You're not losing anything. You won. She shook her head faintly. We won. A single tear slipped from her eye. Then her body turned to light, soft golden particles rising into the air, spreading across the valley like fireflies. The wind carried her essence upward until the sky itself shimmered. Reed fell silent, staring as the last of her glow disappeared into the stars. The soldiers who had once served the king gathered around quietly, kneeling in respect. No one spoke. No one dared. From the sky a faint beam of light descended, not of war but of peace. It was a transmission from the human fleet finally receiving Reed's earlier distress call. A voice crackled through his wrist comm. Captain Reed, this is command. We received your signal. What's your status? He looked up at the heavens, his voice steady though his heart ached. The war's over, he said quietly. A new era has begun. As the human ships landed and the Thalorian soldiers bowed, the golden glow of Saranvale spread once more across the land, and in that light, Reed could almost feel her presence whispering through the wind. Protect the child. Our heir, the bridge between worlds. He touched his chest, feeling the faint golden pulse beneath his skin, a trace of her energy, still alive within him. The universe would remember that day, when a human soldier and an alien princess defied an empire, destroyed a tyrant, and gave birth to hope itself. The story of the infertile princess who became the mother of two worlds would echo across galaxies for centuries, reminding every being, human or alien, that love, compassion, and courage are forces even kings cannot command. And under the twin suns of Saranvale a new age began, the age of the heir.